Today, I would like to address the tragedy that has not received nearly enough media attention, the brutal murder of Irina Zarutska. Here are the facts that many outlets have shamefully and intentionally failed to report until President Trump drew attention to it. On August 22nd, Irina Zarutska was stabbed to death on the rail system in Charlotte, North Carolina by a savage career criminal. This is a public transportation system that many in the area use every single day to go to school and work. Irina was on the train that night traveling home from her job at a pizzeria, still in uniform from her shift. This beautiful, innocent 23-year-old young woman was a Ukrainian refugee who had recently fled her country for a chance at a safer life and a promising new beginning here in the United States of America. But tragically, a public transportation system in a major American city was more dangerous than the active war zone that she left. The president and the entire White House are praying for her family and friends during this unimaginably difficult time. But while we extend our thoughts and prayers, we must also seek justice for this crime and call attention to this heinous incident. Surveillance video of the killing was finally released to the public this past Friday. It shows the alleged killer, DeCarlos Brown Jr., pull out a knife, get up from his seat behind Irina, and prepare to thrust a blade into her neck before the released footage gets cut. This is pure evil on full display. The most enraging and unacceptable part of this story is that her death was entirely preventable. DeCarlos Brown never should have been on that train that night. In fact, he should have been behind bars. DeCarlos Brown has been charged with crimes no fewer than 14 times, dating back to 2011, including for armed robbery, felony larceny, breaking and entering, and shoplifting. Brown had previously served 5 years in prison for a robbery with a deadly weapon charge, and he had also forfeited bonds 3 different times, twice in 2014 and once in 2023. Despite all of this past documented criminal history, when Brown was arrested yet again in January of this past year, a Democrat judge, who I will add was a strong supporter of former Vice President Kamala Harris, released this insane criminal once again without requiring him to pay any bail. He simply had to sign a written promise to return for his court hearing. Think about how crazy it is to ask a career criminal, someone who by definition repeatedly breaks the law, to just sign a written promise and come back again another day. This is madness. This monster should have been locked up, and Irina should still be alive. But Democrat politicians, liberal judges, and weak prosecutors would rather virtue signal than lock up criminals and protect their communities. And perhaps most shamefully of all, the majority of the media, many outlets in this room, decided that her murder was not worth reporting on originally because it does not fit a preferred narrative. Many of the journalists in this room spilled plenty of ink trying to smear Daniel Penny for defending a subway car from a deranged lunatic in New York City, but none of those same reporters lift a finger to write stories about an actual murderer. Here's the truth that every American must know. Too many innocent people across the country continue to pay the price of the failed experiment known as cashless bail that has been championed by the Democrat Party for years. All the way back in 2020, North Carolina's then Democrat Governor Roy Cooper established a so-called task force for racial equity in criminal justice. Sounds nice, but it's not. That task force was co-authored by then Attorney General and current Democrat Governor Josh Stein. It recommended, quote, reimagining public safety to, quote, promote diversion and other alternatives to arrest. It also advised to de-emphasize some felony crimes, prioritize, quote, restorative justice, and eliminate cash bail. Democrats in North Carolina and nationwide are consumed with pushing a woke, soft-on-crime agenda, no matter how many innocent Americans suffer as a result. Instead of aggressively prosecuting and locking up violent criminals, the Democrat-backed cashless bail approach lets these criminals roam free in our country to offend again and again. These reckless policies have turned too many of American cities into hunting grounds for career criminals who mock our justice system, drain law enforcement resources, and wreak havoc on law-abiding citizens. Enough is enough, and that is why President Trump is doing everything in his power by taking action to undo these absurd policies. The president recently signed a powerful executive order directing the AG to submit a list of states and local jurisdictions with cashless bail policies so that the Trump administration may identify federal funds that are being provided to these states and can potentially be suspended or terminated. President Trump firmly believes that to maintain order in public safety, we must incarcerate individuals whose pending criminal charges or criminal history demonstrate a clear, ongoing risk to civil society. This is a common sense and sensible approach that the vast majority of Americans agree with, and it's time for the Democrat Party to get on board with what is right. When these criminals are caught, they must be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and be sent to prison, where they can no longer terrorize our streets. This is the mandate the American people delivered to President Trump, and it's a mandate he intends to fulfill. Staying on the topic of public safety, new preliminary data released today by Customs and Border Protection in August shows that President Trump has delivered the most secure border in American history.
I'm Matt Gelka in Washington. A viral video showing the shocking murder of a 23-year-old in North Carolina has put crime back in the national spotlight. This now viral video shows 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee Irina Zarutska getting on a Charlotte light rail train on August 22nd. She sits down and minutes later, the man sitting behind her pulls out a knife and stabs her to death. The suspect, 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown, was arrested and charged with first-degree murder for the unprovoked attack. The president addressed the killing Monday.
I just give my love and hope to the family of the young woman who was stabbed this morning or last night in Charlotte by a madman, a lunatic. They're evil people. We have to be able to handle that. If we don't handle that, we don't have a country.
Brown had a long rap sheet prior to the apparent random killing he's been charged for. He's been arrested at least 14 times and served 5 years for robbery with a deadly weapon. He got out of prison in 2020. He most recently was arrested in January for misuse of the 911 system and was released without having to post bail.
Most of legacy media doesn't want to look at this because it does indict blue cities' policies vis-a-vis crime. Right now, the reality, as opposed to the narrative, is violence scares Americans, and local, state, and federal officials have to do something.
Charlotte's mayor posted Saturday, writing in part, "I want to thank our media partners and community members who have chosen not to repost or share the footage out of respect for Irina's family," before saying this was a senseless and tragic loss. But the post and coverage of the story has received heavy criticism, including from MAGA media types with large followings. Elon Musk has been posting about the video through the weekend, emphasizing a disparity in coverage of the crime compared to coverage of George Floyd's death and reposting racial crime stats. A GoFundMe set up for Zarutska had raised over $85,000 by Monday afternoon. Meanwhile, the website pulled a campaign supporting the alleged killer.
For far too long, Americans have been forced to put up with Democrat-run cities that set loose savage, bloodthirsty criminals to prey on innocent people. Really very, very innocent people. In every place, they control radical left judges, politicians, and activists. They've adopted a policy of catch and release for thugs and killers. In Charlotte, North Carolina, we saw the results of these policies when a 23-year-old woman who came here from Ukraine met her bloody end on a public train. And here's a picture of it. This is the picture of it. And this is a picture of the woman, a beautiful young girl that never had problems in life, with a magnificent future in this country. And now she's dead. She was slaughtered by a deranged monster who was roaming free after 14 prior arrests. We cannot allow a depraved criminal element of violent repeat offenders to continue spreading destruction and death throughout our country. We have to respond with force and strength. We have to be vicious just like they are. It's the only thing they understand. 24 of the top 25 most dangerous cities in America are run by Democrat mayors. 50 people were murdered in Chicago in recent weeks, with hundreds being shot. And it's time to stop this madness. The people of our country need to insist on protection, safety, law, and order. We have proven that it can be done because we did it right here in D.C. and District of Columbia, the capital of America, was a bloodthirsty, horrible, dangerous place, one of the worst. And now it's a crime-free city, and we're going to keep it that way. It can be done. It can happen fast. All we want is, please, Mr. President, we need help. Chicago needs help. Other cities need help. We'll do what has to be done because we're going to make America safe again. And that includes our big cities. We're going to make those cities safe. Thank you.
All right.
Just a few hours ago, I forced myself to watch the full, unedited video of Irina Zartuska's murder. Now, every adult American should see what this monster did to her. To see what's at stake here, what we're talking about when we talk about crime. In moments, I'm going to show you some of it. I have to warn you, it's extremely upsetting and graphic. It's heartbreaking.
The surveillance video shows Irina Zarutska getting on the train by herself in her work uniform, sitting down by herself in a row that just happened to be in front of DeCarlos Brown Jr. Approximately 4 minutes later, Mr. Brown pulled out a pocket knife. You see him on video open that pocket knife, and he stabbed her 3 times in the neck. He then walked off the train with blood dripping from the knife. This is obviously a horrible, horrible situation.
With her throat slit and beginning to bleed out, 23-year-old Irina Zarutska covered her mouth. She grabbed at her throat and looked up in disbelief at the man who had just stabbed her, as if to ask, why? As DeCarlos Brown Jr. casually strolled away, her face fell into her hands. She obviously knew she was about to die. So blood splattered through the aisle, and seconds later, she bows her head, slumps over in a seat, and falls to the train floor, lying in a pool of blood, her own blood. Now, by the time police arrived, Irina was dead. So now the Trump administration is involved, and it's supplementing state charges with a federal one. Career criminal DeCarlos Brown Jr. is facing life in prison or the death penalty. And while we hope this brings justice for Zarutska, we have to make sure we never forget who she was.
Is this what you want? Is this what the kind of world you enjoy living in, where we could vote in people, judges, and be okay with them just letting out criminals after murdering, raping, committing assaults against people, maiming people, killing people, burning down businesses, whatever they want to do, go in to prison and be let out just to do it again. Whenever you're wanting to support sanctuary cities where criminals, career criminals, can go in and to places, houses, wherever they want, stores, whatever they want to do, and commit heinous acts against other people, something is wrong with society, something is wrong with our world, the world that we're living in. When we're saying that this is okay, that it's okay if, as long as they're not doing anything to me or my family, I'm fine with it. You go out, you vote for these people, and because you hate somebody or a political group of people that want justice, that want our borders to be safe, want criminals who do acts of violence against other people to be freed, not go to prison. When you want lawlessness, is what it is, to be all across our country, even across the world, because it's happening all abroad. But in our own country, you're saying that you support people who commit theft. You support people who commit assaults against other people. You support rapists. You support murderers because you constantly, this is what the Democratic Party wants. You look at the blue cities and you see this is what they want. Look at New York, whom they want to put in office as mayor. Zoran Mamdani. And I tell you that this man is going to rise up. I believe he will eventually get into office. And if he becomes mayor, he will run for presidency. And I believe he would run in 2028. Keep in mind, a lot of people love this man, want him to be in power. They want him to operate New York. Therefore, socialism. Socialism is, you could say, okay, if you work for somebody and they're going to pay you $20,000. You're working hard to earn that $20,000. You've done the work. Now they decide that they want to give 15 of that thousand to somebody else that didn't do any of the work. But the good news is you get to keep the 5,000. That's socialism. And when you support such things that you don't know anything about, thinking that everything is going to be free, this is a great thing, my rent is going to be free, going to the grocery stores, I could get food for free. No, it doesn't work like that because somebody is paying for it. So it's not really free if somebody else is paying for it. And if it's coming out of your pocket, this is going to cost more money because they're getting it from other people. And ultimately, people are going to leave. Ultimately, socialism can lead to communism. And dictatorship is never good because it's complete control over the people. You have no control over your life. You have no control over what you do, what you say. Your freedom is gone. In comes a system of government that you can't get away from. So when you accept one thing, can begot another thing, and so on. And you, next thing you know, you have all kinds of things chaotic all across our country. And once it gets out of control, There's no going back. So you have to think of where things are going, that when you accept lawlessness, that it's okay. Because you look at the mainstream media, they didn't report this. We just now finding out about this. This happened a while ago. I think like a week ago or something like that. I believe it happened at the end of August or something like that. To that, and somebody leaked it out. That's the only reason why we even know about this Ukrainian who came to America for something better, trying to escape the war between Russia and Ukraine, just to find out that her life was coming to an end the minute she got on that train. You have to think about where we are in Scripture. When Jesus in Matthew 24 is talking about these things. And when you look at verse 12 in Matthew 24, it says, "And because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold." That right there says a lot. It says a lot because we look at lawlessness that is increasing constantly, more and more. We got division. We can't say things without people getting offended. Divisions between loved ones, people that are loving evil things more and more. People are into all these video games, even that are so violent. They're so much into a lot of the movies that are very violent. They could watch murders, and Halloween is coming up. I guarantee you, many of you even are going to watch scary movies, wicked, demonic movies, evil movies, Freddy and uh, Friday the 13th, Jason, whatever. I used to watch those things. Not anymore because the Lord delivered me from those things. But many people are going to flock to the movies to watch these types of films, and demonic films they are. And this is going into people's spirits all across the globe. And it's causing people to react a certain way. Some people may not go out and murder and kill, but some people will. Some people may be looking for violent things to do, like riots. The minute a riot can pop up, they want to join in so that they can reap havoc on somebody or on something. Burn some buildings down, burn some cars, and look at 2020 riots. Look at just recently over the Biden years with some of these colleges. Even trying to do it into the Trump years, which Trump wasn't having it, and he stopped it. But if no one steps up to speak out against these acts of violence, if no one shows these acts of violence because they're biased to one side and they want to push a agenda or ideology, nobody would know about these things. We wouldn't have known about this Ukrainian 23-year-old woman who was brutally murdered on the train had it not been for somebody leaking it out. we wouldn't have known. And this is what they were doing during the Biden administration, hiding things from the public, making you believe a lie, deceiving you all along, when the truth was they were lying all the time. They lied saying the borders were closed when they were wide open. Millions of people came across our borders. An invasion took place up under our eyes, and yet people stood by and supported it and went against the Republican Party because they loved violence. There was an agenda that they wanted to have. They wanted to rip our country apart from inside. And the best way to do it is to let the enemies come in to destroy it, infiltrate our system of government by putting people in our government so that people can make decisions by law to let criminals have their way, putting in judges all across our country in the sanctuary cities so that when criminals do heinous acts against other people, whether they're shooting them multiple times, raping them, or kidnapping them so they can rape them over and over again and then murdering them, or cutting somebody up or stabbing them multiple times just to get put in jail and let out within a month or weeks or days later. And in some cases, it was like a day later. Is this what you want our country to become? Because it's already becoming like that. It's already here. It's already happening. This person was put in jail 14 times and didn't do the time that he was supposed to do. Had he done his time, she would still be alive. But we see this happening over and over again, time and time again, all across our country in the sanctuary cities. People were offended because Trump is going around and arresting MS-13 gang members, Trinidad, Nicaragua gang members, and other multiple murderers and people who's been raping women and little children. And people get offended by it. Why is that? Because lawlessness will abound, and the love of many will grow cold. People would rather love darkness more than they would love light. They support the criminals than they would someone like this young lady. They did more of reporting on, meaning the mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, MSDNC, all these mainstream medias did more to report on George Floyd, if you think about it, than this. And you probably look at this footage or other footage concerning this, and you won't see it in these other mainstream media as much at all, because it does not push their agenda. They rather play the race card. But because this is a white woman and not a black woman, and not a white man that murdered, but a black man, now it doesn't suit their purpose nor their agenda. Why report it? Because they want you to grow hate more and more. They want you to wax cold against those mega people who wants to make America great again. Those mega people stand for justice, believing that all people who commit crimes, no matter what they are, whether it's rape or murder, they need to go to prison. Assaults against people, although people may survive, they're mentally damaged for life. Some people can't walk after an assault against them. Some people can't even talk properly after an assault against them. But the Republican Party, believes that all criminals who do such wickedness needs to go to prison and pay for the penalty in which they deserve. When you look at lawlessness, God is saying that eventually they're going to be judged. And guess who else is going to be judged? All those who condone it. So you have to ask yourself, is this what you want? Because Jesus is saying, talking about the last days, how things are going to be. And I'm going to bring all this up in a later message, maybe a soon message. And we're going to cover Matthew 24 and possibly 25 concerning the last days before Christ's return. So I would say, which side are you on? Because God doesn't like lawlessness. Lawlessness is against God's law. Lawlessness is sin. And God is going to punish all those who are constantly committing sin against Him. If you're condoning it, you will one day be judged. You may be okay with it right now, but later you'll find on Judgment Day that, wow, there is really a God. And this God is going to judge me. And there is only one place for those who do wickedness. I hope you choose righteousness over lawlessness. God bless you. May the Lord keep you and shine His face upon you and give you peace in Jesus Christ's holy and mighty name. Amen.